Hey everybody, what is up? This is Devin LaVore and
Michelle LaVore
coming at ya. And today's video is going to accomplish one thing, right? Just one thing. And that is to encourage you on just how close we are to the breakthrough, the fulfillment of the promise, the long-awaited satisfaction of the desires of our heart.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we're going to contribute like what we have to say, but I tell you what, it could be a whole nother video just listing off all these things that are really speaking to like God is getting ready to fulfill. Rick Joyner just came out with a video yesterday talking about, man, we are really on the verge of something big that God's getting ready to do, right? But we were taking a look through kind of like some of the things that we've been going through that the Lord's been showing us. And we decided to kind of like lay a little bit of groundwork. I'm going to lay some groundwork, and then Michelle's going to kind of share the revelation she got based on all the groundwork that she got before we did the groundwork. So, but it was on November 4th, we got that video, we're in the end game. Yeah. Right? And then the next day, I heard that whole thunder thing. I heard thunder three times in the spirit, and each one got closer to the third one was like right over our heads, and I was like, woohoo, tomorrow's deluge. Yeah, don't do that. It's like we're gonna have deluge like any minute now. But it was just a sign. It was a prophetic sign of like, this is what's coming, this is where you guys are at. And then we went through a ton of other things as a family that showed us like, wow, we are getting close personally. So this like a lot of other people have to be getting close. You know, like we went through those whole 5 rings of our tree thing. There was like 5 videos, wasn't it? I mean, it was just 5 days in a row of just intensity. And then there was this one day we got all these numbers, a ton of numbers. I mean, it was a ton, probably the most we've ever gotten up to that point. And that was another prophetic sign. And then one day, me and Michelle, it was at night after the kids went to bed, and we just came to be with the Lord, and we're like, Lord, whatever you want to say. We weren't talking about when is the vision coming and when is this going to happen, and it wasn't like that. It was just, Lord, what do you want to share with us? And the Lord had me read Revelation 21 and 22, like both chapters. And I was like, wow, this is, and while I'm thinking about it, or while I'm reading it, I was thinking like, oh, this is just the Lord kind of trying to show me just how glorious the kingdom is and the end of it all and all that. And it was just like, it was awesome. It's like, but at the end of it, I'm like, Lord, why would you have me read all of that, right? And I felt like the Lord was like, look at how I end a story. You know? And it really spoke to me because it was like, I end the story by bringing my family together, by bringing my vision to pass, by bringing it to pass. I don't just move on and not finish a thing. And that really spoke to us personally about our house and the kind of vision, just the vision that we're believing for, which is going to be totally different for so many different people. The breakthrough and the vision and the end thing, or that long satisfied, or the long awaited desire for you guys is going to be totally different than ours. But the bottom line is God's able to do it all, you know? And he just showed me through that. He was like, that's how I end the story. You know, by giving you the desire of your heart, by me getting the desire of my heart finally. And then after that, there is no more book. You know, because we talked about another thing called the last chapter. We're in the last chapter, and we're in the 42nd month of our journey, so to speak, from when we started. And
and the 42, I think some people have been asking, it was just kind of like the idea that, you know, there's like the 42 months with like of time.
It's basically 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Jesus, you know, had 3.5 years, and just like in the book of Revelation, there's 3.5 years and 3.5 years. So it was kind of just that idea, like we were getting the number 42 and it's
totally random. Out of nowhere.
And just kind of really people who've made comments were talking about the number 42, and then we started getting the number.
Just Set Treasure, she was one of them. She started talking. That's really kind of where it springboarded. I was like, well, she's talking about it too. What does that mean? And that kind of springboarded our.
And we
you
just
got on Netflix that one day. It was like the movie 42,
and I was like, all right, so what is this 42 thing? So that's just kind of where that comes from, and we feel like we're in that 42nd month, that last month again, talking about the end.
And that was on November 15th, where the Lord was talking about pressing the button, and the pressure of the birth canal was on the 16th. Then on the 17th, we got the whole God sending the angel of acceleration. And on that day, we got lots of scriptures about resurrection and all that. I was like, wow, you know what? It was interesting. Another like additional sign of all this is God's begun to revisit things He's said in the past. And it was like, hey, remember this? Remember this? It's like, I'm getting ready to do that. And there's just a lot of other things. I mean, there's a whole big fat list of things going on there. I'm not going to read them all. And another one of the prophetic numbers I kept getting was 744. I was getting that for a couple days in a row. And I was just like, what is this 744? And then I woke up and I saw it again one day. And then I was like, well, let me cut it in half here, 744. And I knew what that meant. And I was like, okay. And then on that morning,
it was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yesterday on the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my oldest son, Joa, he finished reading the Action Bible all by himself. He read through the whole thing all by himself. And he was like, whoa, I just finished reading the Action Bible. And it was a big celebration type thing. He was like, wow, I didn't know the Action Bible ended on page 744. And I about fell over. I was like, what? And again, I mean, right away, the Lord reminded me of that time He made me read, or He had me read Revelation 21 and 22. He was just like, hello. So there was like a ton of things that have been going on that have been signs of us being at the end.
Yeah.
So, and you will share the big meaty part of this vision.
Yeah.
Of your revelation, rather.
Yeah.
You know?
So yesterday, and it actually started when we were listening to Rick Joyner's, it was his rant for the day. And he talked about like flowing in the river, I think is what it was called, or something.
A new river flowing.
Oh, a new river flowing. Yeah. There we go. And he had just mentioned like just the idea again of like this birthing in the spirit. There's just a lot of, they're really feeling the spirit and how.
What were we like, again?
Yeah.
Like, how many births are we going to have before we see the thing, man?
Yeah.
Like, come on, but
and so he's just talking about it and how it's just really rising. And later on when we were praying, and I just was getting this thinking about it, kind of just chewing over it, and it was like, whoa, because Rick Joyner was talking about like it would be like an outpouring of the Spirit, like that there would just, he was saying just that spiritually there's going to be some really amazing things that we're going to start seeing, and the presence of the Lord and all of that. And I was just like, okay, that's really awesome. And and
that's the way you said that was so funny. Anyway, go ahead.
And so we were praying, and I felt like God just kind of gave me this realization of, He reminded me of the vision He gave me back in the end of September of us, of a group of people that were praising the Lord, and they had the trumpets in their mouths, and God was going to pour out His Spirit. And I just realized that, wow, well, part of that trumpeting is really the joy. Like all these people are just like singing to the Lord, and they are just overflowing with joy. And for me, it was just like, whoa, brought all these connections of God is going to, when He performs, when we actually see the manifestation of our promises, it's going to create this huge amount of joy in His people. And that's really all we're going to be doing, is just singing praises to God. Because and then I felt like it was like God was like, yes, and then when that is happening, then He's going to be pouring out His Spirit. And
because you felt like the thing that stuck out in my mind was you were saying like, wow, like we have so missed it on the anxiety level and the fear level and being afraid we're going to miss God or whatever, because you're like, what God is doing, the fulfillment of those desires is actually an absolutely necessary part of the process
of what He's doing.
Yeah.
And Because it goes back to, in one of our videos, we talked about there's like 3 stories going on. You've got a heart story, you've got the spiritual story, and you have this manifestation. And so it's like, it's kind of funny because I really feel like the manifestation of our promises actually becomes the heart story. It's like it just flows into
of the next season.
Of this next season.
Right, yeah.
So it's almost like this, once people start seeing the manifestation of their promises, it's actually in your hand. Whatever it is that you're believing for actually happens. Then it's like
the desire of your heart is fulfilled. There's no more heart sickness and disappointment, and there's the healing and the revealing and all that, It's like that will then, it actually kind of flows into really the heart story. It's like the end becomes the beginning.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so then because of that kind of begins this next season where there's blessing, and then because of just God really healing people's hearts through the manifestation of his promises, then he is going to be able to, I think we'll get the gift of the Holy Spirit. Or like,
well, the outpouring.
The outpouring,
yeah,
not the gift, but the major outpouring.
Kind of like an awakening or revival type level, like deluge kind of thing,
Which actually kind of goes into what we were doing last night. We really felt like God was kind of saying, hey, go back and look at some of these videos. And we specifically looked at the ones where we were talking about deluge. Well, Devin was talking about deluge. And that was back in...
That was pre-Michelle.
Yeah. Back in August. And actually
we looked at all 4 of them, and that 4th one was actually you.
Yeah.
So.
But our daughter, she actually yesterday felt like she got a word from the Lord, and she said the word deluge. That was the only word that she got.
Yeah.
And so then later that day, I was like, all right, or last night, we were like, okay, we need to go back through. And I really felt like for me, God was painting this picture. He's like, there is the deluge, deluge, deluge. And in the first video that Devin did about it, he was like, there's 3 stages basically. Mm-hmm. And the first stage was words from heaven. The second had to do with blessing, manifestation, and outpouring of the Spirit. Mm-hmm. And then the third was all about salvation. And so I was kind of seeing it as like there's this deluge. Like we really have been hit with the words from heaven. I feel like we really have been in this season of deluge of the words of God. He is just,
from just lots of prophetic
lots
voices,
and
not
lots
just
of
us,
just prophetic words from other people. Even I think personally in your life you might realize, wow, God has been speaking to me a whole lot more just in the last few months,
like a lot,
than he ever has before. I know that's, for me, that's definitely very true. And then so I'm thinking, wow, so really we have started this deluge thing where it's like this first deluge is the words from heaven. Mm-hmm. Then the second deluge is the manifestation and the outpouring of the Spirit. And it's
the manifestation of the desires of your heart.
Yeah, desires of your heart. And it's like it's also like a season. But what I thought was really cool is I feel like they actually multiply on top of each other. It's not like we're going to enter this next season and there's just not going to be a lot of words from heaven. Yeah. I think he's like, I started with the words of heaven and then I'm going to add to it fulfillment and the outpouring of my Spirit. And then the third deluge would be he's adding up top of that the salvations, like just a massive amount of people coming to the Lord and like great revival.
Yeah, because I know Lana Vosser, she put out this thing. She's been saying a couple of times about how 2018 was going to be all about family. And we felt that too. We were like, oh, that's absolutely true. But when Lana Vosser said, lean into the Lord about 2018, the Lord's speaking about 2018, and this was in the midst of us like, ooh, man, we're going to receive from the Lord now. It's time for the promise to be birthed and all that. And she's like, all right, we're going on to 2018. We were like, what?
Yeah.
No, you can. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm trying to receive my promise.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it was just like, you know what? I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be like, okay, if the Lord is if he's releasing something from heaven about 2018, that doesn't mean he's forgot our promise. He's the one who promised it. So
Yeah.
he's not going to forget his own promise. Anyway, just, the battle up here, And so I leaned in. I was just like, all right, Lord, well, what are you saying about 2018? Seriously, I mean, I'm not like fasting, praying hardcore. This is not days on end. I'm just like, Lord, so what are you saying about 2018? And I just felt like the Lord was like a massive tons of salvations or something like that. I forget how he exactly worded it, but it was like that. He was like, massive tons of salvations. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, okay. I was like, and I really felt, I just knew it was the Lord. And I was like, dang. Well, what is getting ready to happen that's going to be the case in 2018? And then I just left it at that. That was like 2 months ago or something like that. I was like, wow. And it stuck with me ever since. He was like, that's what it's going to be about. And I was like, well, how does that tie into family? But then, are you going to talk about that, about the family and how it ties in?
Well, you can.
No, okay, well, because we were thinking 2018 is definitely going to be about our family.
Yeah.
But that's the heart story, is about our family. But then there's the spirit story, the spiritual story, and it's going to be about the family of God. Right? And then there's going to be the manifestation story of that family is adding to the family of God.
Yes.
So that's where that massive tons of salvation comes in.
Yeah.
God's into the threes, man. I didn't realize he was so into the threes.
Yeah.
He is big into the threes. Learning that there is a heart story and a spiritual realm story and then a manifestation here on earth story has helped out a lot. Because a lot of times when I first got started in all this prophetic stuff that God has had me do like crazy these past several months, I didn't realize that some prophetic words were just that. They were prophetic. They were for way up there somewhere. I'm thinking that they're right for right now. But then you learn that there are other prophetic words, and it's like, oh no, that's for right now. It's like, well, how am I supposed to know the difference? But then God's given us this 3-stage story thing, and it's really helped.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
It's
really
think
helped.
It's been really
thank
helpful. So that just made, I think when God just shared all of that with me, it was like, wow, okay, so this is just really exciting because him giving to his children their blessings, their promises that he has spoken to them is a key part in what he is doing.
It's like he has to do that.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to have his kids these promises are not the carrot before the horse.
Yeah.
Because that's how you feel.
Yeah.
That's how we wake up almost every morning feeling. Lord, it's still in front of us.
Yeah.
I'm just ugh. And then he helps us out and we're going, oh, you're awesome. We love you.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's definitely this heart sickness thing is just there.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, and it really is, it's you can have joy in what is going to happen, but once you receive it, it's a whole nother level of joy. And
isn't it?
And no matter what, no matter how much you're just Lord, I am going to have joy in you. I'm going to have joy in you. It's not going to be the same as when you receive the promise.
It isn't.
And once you receive the promise, there's just going to be this immense amount of joy. And I really feel that has to happen before God is going to do what he's going to do with the Spirit. Because it's because of that joy, God is just I can fill you guys up. There's not going to be anything in our hearts that are saying, maybe, okay, Lord, well, it's
this
kind
is
of
still unsatisfied.
This thing is still unsatisfied, and so it was just really encouraging to hear that.
Yeah. So God had us revisit. He's been revisiting a lot of things that he's prophesied through me a long time ago.
Yeah, back in August.
You know why I think God's brought it up? Because there's a part of us that's just whatever.
Yeah.
God's going to do that whenever he's going to... You know what I mean? He's no, I want you to see this. I want you to remember this. And lately, man, now this is going to be a negative sign that we're at the end, but it actually is positive. It's kind of a dark sign that's proof that, man, we are on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the enemy has been attacking like crazy
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever experienced this level attack on your life ever?
No, I haven't.
It has been consistent for
Yeah.
the last several days. And I mean, what does the enemy hit you with?
It's massive amounts of just overwhelming fear. Like, fear, I mean, it comes on all of a sudden, and it is like, I feel like I'm going to be swallowed up by this thing. And it's completely irrational. And I'm just
buddy.
why in the world am I going through this? You know, and it's like, all right, I fight it off.
But it's very intense.
It's extremely
like,
intense.
Not like anything you've ever experienced. I mean, you might have experienced it like on an occasion, but then it's like a year before you experience something like that again. But it's been like every day.
Well, and the intensity of the fear, I don't know that I've ever really experienced that in my life, because I'm just like, this isn't me. I'm not like this. I mean, you know, everybody has their fears, but I'm just like, no, that's not me. But it's so intense.
It's a spirit.
And that's just been going on really for the last probably almost 3 days, like just moments. It's not an all day thing, but it's just these like extremely intense moments.
All of a sudden,
kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, whoa.
Well, and I knew it was a spirit of fear, because every time the last 2 times she talked to me about it, just the word paralysis came to my mind, and panic attack. And I'm like, this is the devil. So we prayed and rebuking and all that. That's not always the thing that we do, but it's just like sometimes you have to work through it and whatever the case. But like what we did last night. But I was reminded again of, I was like, when I woke up this morning, or was that yesterday?
It was last night.
It was last night. And I came into the kitchen. I just remember coming into the kitchen. And I was like, oh my goodness, I know what this is. This is that we are standing. I got this vision before of us standing at the palace door, and then the doors blew open by the Spirit, and it carried us to our seats and everything. But before that happened, before that chapter of the vision happened, we were standing there in our proper attire, and we're waiting for this door to open. There was a big line of us, all in white garments and stuff, and this huge cobra-like snake slithered in from the wilderness, and it just reared its head up, and it was just like, you know, and it was just like, be afraid of me, come on, be afraid of me. And it was like no one was afraid of this big, huge, massive snake. And so it was like, oh man, no one's afraid of me. This isn't working, you know? But because it was trying to figure out who would be afraid of it, you know? Like the way a lion attacks. The lion, he puts his nose to the ground, and he gruffs and he roars, and he looks up to see who fell down, you know, because sheep, when they get scared, they like stiffen up and then they just fall over.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like what the enemy was trying to make you do. He was roaring real loud, afraid, be afraid. Yeah. And you were like, oh man, but you were fighting it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, he was waiting for you to just stiffen up and just fall down and be paralyzed. Be paralyzed with fear, so he can come and devour you. You know, the enemy, a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. And I knew exactly that this is what this is. And I was just like, wow, this is why we needed to revisit these things, because the Lord is saying, like, remember that vision? Like, that's what's happening, like, right now. And I was like, dang, I thought that was happening way back then. And the Lord was like, it was happening way back then. But it's like, it's happening now. And I'm like, wow. So again, it must have been like one of those heart story, spiritual story type thing, or whatever. But I was just like, it's happening now. He's like, yes, that is actually what's happening right now. And I was just like, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
Because that was like, after we resisted, because see, the Bible says, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Because before that door blew open by the power and wind of the Spirit, there was no snake there. You know? So I just wanted to share that as well, as just like another sign that even if you feel like you're being bombarded by the enemy like you've never been bombarded, and it's like, what in the world? I'm questioning even my salvation type thing. That's the enemy trying to kill what God's trying to birth. It's like that the woman's trying to birth in the Revelation 12, trying to birth, but the red dragon has poised itself to catch it before it even, I did a video on that too, and it's like, he constantly doing that, and it's just like, man, this is just another sign that we are super close. Now I know there's, I want to address the discouragement. Can we do that?
Sure.
Because I know there's a lot of people out there that get tired of hearing prophetic words. Raise your hand if you get tired of hearing prophetic words. Raise your hand if you get tired of being encouraged to believe. Mm-hmm. Right here. Yeah. and it's like, you know what? The truth of the matter is, you got to take your heart as like an investment bank. If God's putting that word in you, it's going to develop interest. It's going to accrue interest. Mm-hmm. He's building. And listen, those who sow sparingly reap sparingly. Yeah. But those who sow generously reap generously. So the more God is sowing in you, the more generous his love is trying to express to you. He's trying to express the generous love to you by constantly encouraging you, constantly giving you words. He knows the time and the season and the date and the hour. But it's like up until then, he's just going to keep investing in your account, in your heart, to get you to believe. And it's like, I know it can be painful. It can be. I mean, I'm there.
Yeah.
It's just like this, particularly this morning, man, I was just super I wasn't mad at the Lord. I wasn't accusing him. None of that. It's just, I can love my wife to pieces and she can love me to pieces. But if I'm laid up in this hospital bed dealing with chemotherapy, it still can be a drain on my life. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with, our relationship, and of course with God it's a little different because we think God can just snap his finger and he'll do it. Well, why isn't he just snapping his finger? Because he can't do that really. I mean, if he could, he probably would. Yeah. But he's like, nah, I got a better plan. I've got a perfect plan. I've got a wise plan. I see everything going on the chessboard, and I'm going to do this. Because in the end, it's going to turn out awesome for you, awesome for me, awesome for those out there who need to be saved, who want to be saved, that don't know that they have to be saved. And then it's going to, pie in the face of the enemy. All that's going to happen when we do it my way. If I just snap my finger, you're going to be blessed, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and it's like in that process, like God does not want to lose his kids. Mm-hmm. And it's like, all right, well, the first time you ask for something, okay, here you go. It's like he could potentially lose people in that process because you need to have the character and everything. And
because the truth of the matter is he's going to lose people anyway.
Yeah.
But he's like, we just have to trust God. We have to take our hearts as broken and as hope deferred as they are. Keep taking them to the Lord. He is the only answer for anything. Sometimes we get so super discouraged ourselves and we're like, well, we can't wait on the Lord anymore. So Lord, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. It's like either you're going to go into yourself and do something on your own, or you're just going to Lord, what are you saying? Confirm it to me for the 78th time. Tell me something else. Oh, thank you, Lord, for giving me confidence. Oh, thank you, Lord, for giving me courage. Yeah. Thank you, God, for being the lifter of my head and just getting me to see you. And thank you. All right, I'm good. I'm aligned. I'm in a proper perspective. I'm in the right trajectory now, So we just wanted to encourage you guys, though, that, man, we are super close. I know I've heard that 100 times. Well, it's true. Yeah. It's like we are just so close. And it's like, I really want to just re-emphasize what I felt like you said about the last chapter.
Yeah.
See, the last chapter has got several pages to it. Mm-hmm. And every time you get a prophetic word from the Lord, consider it like a page. Mm-hmm. Every time you go through a day, consider it just like a turning of the page. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think we're super close. And this massive attack, particularly against my wife, has been relentless.
Yeah.
And it's like I almost got excited last night, didn't I? I was like, what a terrible response when someone's going through HE double hockey sticks. But it's like, I was like, this is amazing. This is a sign that we are so because the enemy does not just, because this is what he did. He took out the thing that she fears the absolute most, and he's just pounding her with it like a hammer.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, you know what? He can't keep doing that. He's showing his hand. He can't just keep doing that to you because you will get used to it and it will not have the same effect. Yeah. And you will overcome that. And the Lord, even the Lord's like, I know. Isn't that awesome? Yes. That's part of that put you on program thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why aren't you delivering me? It's like, I am delivering you. Look at what's happening. What's he doing to you? What's going to happen as a result of all this? Nothing. If you don't quit, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you're going to he can't hit you again with that same thing because you've already overcome it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't be overcome by something you've overcome already. I mean, you can, but technically, but it's like not when your heart's for the Lord and you're just constantly going forward toward Him.
You just get stronger during the whole process.
Yes.
If anything comes out of it,
press.
it's like you get stronger and stronger.
You know, it's like your most hated exercise, and you just keep doing it every time you go into the gym. You're going to get stronger at it, and it's going to be something you may not ever like it still. Who likes being attacked by the enemy? Well, we don't. But it's like you get stronger at it, you know? And so I hope that encourages you guys to some degree. Stop looking at my baby. No, I'm just kidding. Listen to what we have to say now. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway.
So that's all we have for you guys today. And we do hope that you are encouraged, that we are at the end. This is like the final chapter. And God really is going to be closing the books on this segment and opening. You know, it's like He's closing and opening the next one. And
there's so many signs that are just proving that, hey, this is true.
Yeah.
This is really happening right now.
Yeah. So just be excited, be encouraged, and, you know, just stand strong in your faith and know that God is good and He loves us, and He is going to fulfill His promises and His word. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.